Welcome to the Hello Sunday podcast with me, Nikki Hayden. This is the podcast that discusses everything self-development, spirituality and sobriety. And it wouldn't be me without a little sprinkling of humour. Whether you are just starting out on your journey of self-development or have been exploring these topics for years, are completely alcohol-free or just curious about living a more sober lifestyle, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be exploring topics in both solo episodes and with some amazing guest experts. So, if you like what you hear, then please subscribe, rate and review. So, with that said, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Hello Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me this week. We are on, I was going to say episode 27. However, I think there was a couple of episodes in there that I didn't number because they were like Sober October episodes and not really on a theme as such. So we're in the high 20s, possibly 30s. So for those of you that have stuck around from the beginning, thank you so much. And for those of you that are new here, go back and listen. We've got quite a few episodes now for you to get your teeth into. So yeah, go back, explore that back catalogue. And as always, if you haven't already, and I know it's only about, I'd say, an eighth of people that listen that have clicked the follow button. So if you're listening on Apple, it's the follow button. On Spotify, I think it's called the same actually, but either way, get that followed and then you'll download the episode every time it comes out each Sunday. So you'll never miss one again. So this week, I thought I would chat about something that, I'll be honest, it's not really something that I've thought about in any great detail before because it's just part of me, my routine, my personality. But I've spoken to a few people in the past about this and they seem to think that I am not necessarily in the minority, but certainly I'm kind of the queen of organisation. Everything has a place and, you know, my house is lived in, but everything's, you know, clean and tidy a lot of the time. And I just love a bit of organisation, love a bit of like preparation and getting things in order. That episode that I did with Dominica, who wrote the book Fuck You Chaos, that was one of the first guest episodes that I ever did. And that floats my boat so much, the whole decluttering and organisation stuff. So that isn't what we're talking about today. But when I first launched this podcast, the reason that I came up with the title of Hello Sunday, or the name of Hello Sunday, was because not only was Sunday a day that I discovered the magic of when I gave up drinking, but it was also a day that became very much about like self-care and preparation for the week ahead and organisation and just a day of kind of like life in admin and getting shit done so that you can go into Monday feeling like you've got your ducks in a row and you've got your shit together. And that isn't something that everybody does. And I guess you just don't know what other people's routines and lifestyles are, do you, until you talk to them. So I've had the conversation with a few of like my friends and like clients and stuff before about how they prepare for the week and what their Sunday looks like. And yeah, I just thought I'd share mine with you guys today because I think that I've got quite a decent routine done. It's not the same every week, don't get me wrong, but there are some steps and tips and tricks that I can share with you that I do regularly just to keep things ticking along so that I don't get to a point in the month where I'm like, oh my God, everything is in disarray. my entire mind feels fogged up because I've just got mess and crap and disorganisation around me. Don't get me wrong, there have been points, especially when I have been poorly. I remember having COVID for the first time 2 years ago, and I was not doing anything in the way of organisation or even just like general life admin. Everything went on hold for like a week and a half because I was so poorly. But other than that, I'm pretty good at nailing it and keeping on top of it. So there's a really famous saying. Don't ask me who says it because I don't know. And I had a look on the internet and the internet doesn't know either. So it's probably been said in many ways and guises before. But the saying is, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So I'll just say that again. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. And what that basically means is if you don't do the preparation for stuff, whether that is a work meeting, whether it is getting your kids' stuff ready for a busy timetable at school, whether it is preparing for your driving test or any other test that you're taking, if you're not ultimately prepared, then the likelihood of failure increases. Doesn't always happen. I know some people that are super good at just flying through life by the seat of their pants. The thought of that fills me with anxiety, to be quite honest. So it's not for me, but each to their own. And you might be listening now and thinking that it's just not for me. I'm not an organised person. Don't want to be. Life's fine as it is. Fine, great. I'm not here to preach to you and tell you how to live your life. I just know that for me and for a lot of people that I've spoken to about this, it's not the case, and that some preparation, some organisation makes us feel a bit better and a bit more focused and able to kind of focus on the things in front of us rather than like all the shit that's going on in our peripherals. So there's 4 areas that I'm going to talk about that I tend to do something within on a Sunday, and I'll talk about all of the areas today and everything within those areas. But just remember, it's not necessary to do all of these things every single week in terms of the things within those areas, because sometimes you'll do something and then you won't need to do it for the next 3 months. So for instance, I haven't included this, but topping up the air in my tires, I don't do that every week. I might do that once every 2 or 3 months, and as the weather changes. So that is something that I would normally do on a Sunday. It's just one of those little life admin tasks. But like I say, it's not going to be a weekly thing. So the first thing I will always do, and this is, I would say, has to be number 1 before you start any preparation of any task, especially when it comes to like week planning, is reflection and intention setting. So the reflection part of that is quite self-explanatory. When we're talking about our week, what went well last week? What went really well that you are really pleased with? And more importantly, why? You might know that you had a really good week. You might have had really good energy. It might be because it's in that good point of your cycle, or it might be because you had really good night's sleep, because you moved your bedtime earlier and didn't watch TV for an hour or an hour and a half, didn't have any screens before bed. And those are things that you can reflect on and be like, that was really good and that worked and that helped me a lot. That was exactly what I did when I stopped drinking at the beginning of last year. I was like, this is a trial period and I'm going to see how it works. And I'm reflecting each week on how I felt. My energy, my productivity, everything was just through the roof. And I was like, why would I go back to getting smashed on a Friday or a Saturday now to take that away? Equally, you need to look at what hasn't worked and reflect on, well, actually, if I felt like shit, if I didn't feel good, if things weren't going the way that I wanted to, sometimes that stuff's out of your control. But sometimes it is things that you can reflect on and be like, okay, let's make a change of that this time. So, for example, I went to a sound bath maybe 4 Sundays ago, and felt really, really shit all day after it. Just felt really low energy, had a headache. It was all like normal and all a completely normal reaction. Some people have like a total high, some people don't feel good, some people cry. I did actually cry at one point. I think I mentioned that on a previous pod. And so this time I opted to do the sound bath on a Friday night because I knew it was going to make me feel probably a little bit rubbish, and that was fine for Saturday. As it was, I woke up feeling great, and then I felt crappy Saturday afternoon, but that meant that I could just wrap up in a blanket, push everything that I needed to do on Saturday to Sunday because I'd got an extra day, and just nap and watch comedy TV. So on reflection, you can look at what's working and what's not. So you need to do that before you can start prepping, because there's no point in just rinse and repeat your week if things aren't working. If you're constantly tired, or you're constantly not able to get out of bed in the morning, or you're constantly running the kids late for school, you need to look at why that is and what needs to change. So that's the reflection part. And then the intention setting is, how do you want your week to go? If you could look back this time next week and you'd have had a really good week, what does that look like? Because this isn't just about writing a to-do list for the week. This is about looking at, what do I want to achieve and why do I want to achieve it? And the episode's about, is this what you really want? And like, you're finding your why will be really good at getting you to understand that. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that one. I'll link it in the show notes. But understanding why you want to feel that way, or why you want something. It's no good just writing down a list of things that you want to achieve if you've got no connection to them. And then the intention is, well, how do I want to feel? How would this week look and feel if it was a success? So by writing that down, you can look at how you're going to get there and put the steps in place to get there. And hopefully then when you do the same exercise next Sunday, and look, life's not perfect. It doesn't go according to plan all the time. Last week, I had a really, really sticky, tricky week at work with new technologies and being in the weeds of stuff that just is not my zone of genius. But I had to do it. And sometimes you will just have to do things. But you can reflect on the good and the bad, and you can then set the intention of, based on that, how do I want this week to go? So that's always the first thing that I do. For those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed, water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily, and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3-month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes. The second area that I look at is organisation. Now, there's loads and loads of areas that you can organise within your life. And like I said, some of those things will need organising regularly, like weekly, daily sometimes. And some of them, you'll do it maybe once a quarter, once a half year, once a year in some cases, and it will be fine. Things like, I guess, organising like your clothes and your wardrobe, you're not going to be doing that every week. That is probably a once a season, so maybe 4 times a year job at most. So in the organisation part, I've broken it down into work. So I will look at my work calendar for the week, and I will time block what it is that I need to do. So I'll look at what clients am I already meeting with, who have I already got calls with, and then what else do I want to achieve in that week? And I will literally block out my diary. Now, I've got a work diary and I've got a home diary, but I do merge them into two on a Sunday, just so that I can see where like the gaps are, because sometimes, because I work for myself, I might have a personal appointment in the middle of the day. But for those of you that work 9 to 5, you can obviously just block that time out and then work on a separate work diary. And if you do work for yourself and you want to incorporate the personal, then I suggest you working from one calendar, whether that be a paper diary or an online diary. I've actually got both. So my work diary is online and then I've got a personal paper one, but I transfer the personal stuff onto my work Outlook diary just for the purposes of not missing anything. So look at your work diary, time block stuff, look at, what you've got to do. And then you'll know, according to that, what time you've got allocated for personal. So it might be that one night you've got a late work call or a late work meeting, or you've got to be in work early. And then that will, I guess, have a bit of a knock-on effect to what you can and can't put in the diary from a personal perspective that week. So that is work organisation, looking at, have I got everything planned out that I need to for this week? Who do I need to reach out to? And then I actually break it down into, when do I need to achieve this by? So if there are key goals that I need to achieve that week, when am I going to achieve them by? So if it's booking a meeting and I know that I need to do the meeting that week, I'll want to book that by the end of Monday. If it's something that I'm splitting down into daily tasks, like, 50 calls that I need to make to various contacts, I'm doing 10 a day, then I'll just put 50 and put it, at the end of the week. So I break it down like that, but each to their own. You will work in different ways to me. Then I look at house organisation. So I normally do a bit of a clean, like a bit of a deeper clean towards the end of the week, like Thursday, Friday time, ready for the weekend. But then on a Sunday, I'll go around again with the Hoover. We do all our food prep, which I'm going to come on to in a moment, on a Sunday. So again, making sure the kitchen's all nice and clean, going around and just dusting, maybe wiping around the bathroom, just light stuff that isn't going to take hours, but that is, the key communal areas are fresh and ready for the week ahead. And then we will restock food. We normally do a food shop on a Sunday, but certainly restocking anything like toilet rolls, or like milk, like key stuff that you're definitely going to need that week. I definitely always do that on a Sunday. And then food. So I just mentioned the food prep. We will prep our first 3 meals of the week. So the lunches for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we have Gusto that comes on a Monday for the evening meals for the week. So we will go food shopping and we will plan and buy and then prep our lunches. Well, I say we, my husband does that part, but I help. For that week, because then that just means that you're not waking up on Monday and thinking, oh shit, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have for dinner? Just plan your meals. You don't have to prep your evening meal, but just planning what you're going to have to eat for at least the first couple of days of the week, it really does free up that mental space. Then I look at car. So I don't really use my car all that much at the moment, but sometimes if I've been away for the weekend or I've been down to my parents in the Midlands, I'll restock things like wipes, tissues, put my sunglasses back in there if I've taken those out. They sometimes come out with me in my bag, and I always keep those in the car just for really sunny days, especially in the winter. The amount of times I've nearly crashed this year because the sun's so bloody low. So just restocking everything in the car. If it's summer, I'll put things like suntan lotion in there. I might put a bottle of water. So just things that you're going to need in the car that week, especially if you're using it every day. It's nothing worse than getting in your car on a frosty morning and you've got no de-icer when you could have just popped down to the local garage and got some on Sunday. So that is the car. And then clothes wise, we're quite lucky because we only have ourselves that we need to dress. But if you've got kids, definitely getting their uniforms like washed, ironed, put out for Monday. I've got friends that actually do like the whole week's worth and hang them up each day. Now, if you don't have 5 uniforms, which I'm not suggesting that you should, just doing the first 2 or 3 days so that you've got time to wash the first one then for the end of the week. But just having those clothes laid out, and I lay out things like my gym clothes for the morning, and then I'll put out an outfit for after the gym so that I'm not having to think. The thing with all of this is that, and this is the reason actually why Steve Jobs used to wear the same clothes every day and why Stephen Bartlett does it, is because the more decisions you have to make throughout the day, the more like decision fatigue you get and the less mentally sharp you are. So take those decisions out of your hands on a Monday. Have everything ready. Have your gym kit ready or your running kit or whatever it might be that you're doing that morning. Have your uniforms ready for your kids. Have your work clothes ready. Whatever you're going to be doing that day, just make sure that you've got it ready the night before, and for a Sunday as much as you can for the week. And then I will look at personal and social stuff. So that's where I marry it up with my work calendar. So I'll look at, have we got any like dinner dates with friends this week? Have I booked in any like calls with my friends that I don't see as often? I've got a friend that lives down the road and we sometimes go for walks in our like lunch break or before work to get a coffee. So make sure that you're aligning your social diary, and especially if you've got kids and they're doing like clubs or play dates and all that sort of stuff, you want to have it in the diary. You don't want to be, oh shit, I didn't realise that you were going there on Tuesday or Wednesday. We've got a swimming gala or we've got to go here or whatever it might be. So just make sure that you've blocked everything out socially and make sure that you've got some time as well. I know it's tricky sometimes to book stuff in socially, especially this time of year if you're in the UK because the weather's grim, but just having something that week, whether it is a FaceTime call with a friend or a walk with a friend or an actual night out, a dinner, have something to look forward to socially. So that's all my organisation stuff. I will basically just go into the week knowing that everything is ready and available and everything is where it should be and that my time's blocked out and that everything is in my calendar, and it just makes me feel so much more organised and just stress-free, because then if somebody says, oh, can we do this, or have you got time to do this, I can just look at my calendar and I'll know, and I won't be thinking, oh shit, I know somebody said I've got to do something then. And then also, like with the kids, you'll have that clear view of when you're working, when you're doing school pickups, when your partner is or your mum is, or don't keep this stuff in your brain. The more shit that you keep in your brain, the less space and energy you're going to have to be productive and hit your goals. So that's the organisation piece. Oh, the other thing that I do as well is make sure that like all the chargers in the house are in there, like charging ports, like next to the bed. And I've got one in my car for when I connect my ways. And we've got one downstairs that's a communal one in the living room. So just little stuff like that so that you're not hunting around for stuff that needs to be in its place. And then the third thing that I do, and again, I know if you're super busy on a Sunday and you've got kids, this is probably going to drop to the bottom of your pile, but it is just a bit of self-care. Now, self-care isn't, everything that we've talked about already is self-care. Self-care isn't just about manicures and getting your hair done and having a nice bubble bath. We know that. However, Sunday is the day where you want to be doing some of that stuff if you can. And I'm not saying every week to go to, the lengths of having a full bath and giving yourself a face. I mean, if you can, 100% do that. There has been weeks where I've had a bath in the middle of the morning or the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday. And I'll tell you, that feels bougie. but just prepping yourself so that you are maybe putting in some hair oil if you know you're going to be washing your hair. Or I've done things like put on those little eye masks that go underneath your eyes, and then done some housework or done some planning, done my, half an hour of work prep or food prep. And so you're killing two birds with one stone. I'm not asking you to lie on the sofa with cucumbers on your eyes and spa music on. Again, if you can do that, knock it out of the park. But if you don't have time to do that and you are trying to prep and organise around all your other responsibilities, then doing things like putting on a face mask and doing the hoovering, or putting on your eye masks and planning your week, is a perfect way to get a little bit of like just beauty prep and self-care of, your body. I take Simprove. I think I've mentioned this before, and that to me is the absolute best self-care that I can ever do for myself. It's super, super, super healthy and has boosted my immune system, sorted out my gut health, my bloating, my energy, everything. I can't rate it enough. And that's something that I do every single day. But then on a Sunday, I might have like a kombucha as well, or I might put a little bit more thought into stuff that I'm eating for my gut health, because that's the day when I've got the time to not have to rush to make quick decisions and just do the easiest thing. So make it a day where maybe you do paint your nails, and then whilst it's drying you do some prep for work, or you watch an episode of something, just a little bit of self-care that it will just make you feel a bit more prepped for the week and a little bit more kind of put together. And then the final one is one that I just advise everybody to never ever miss out, and that is relaxation. Now, relaxation can look so many different ways. Like, to me, getting the house clean is in a way like a bit of a meditation. I tend to just stick on a podcast, or sometimes I don't even have anything on. I just have my own thoughts. But it's not truly relaxing. It's doing a hell lot of steps, and it is physical work. So somewhere you need to fit in a little bit of relaxing. Now, it could be that you snuggle up with the kids on the sofa. It could be that you wait for them to go to bed and watch an hour of some trash TV. It could be that you send your partner out playing golf all day and you just enjoy a nice bath. Whatever your version of relaxing is, try and incorporate some of that into your Sunday, because I guarantee that if the rest of the week is anywhere near as mental as mine, probably more for some of you are probably listening to this and thinking, you've not got kids, how can you possibly have a busy week? But running a business and running this podcast and just life, I guess. So try and fit some relaxation in. Try and do something for you that is mental downtime, and that isn't sitting on your phone scrolling. It could be watching trash TV, as long as you're getting a chance for your brain to just disconnect from life and just have, real time to wonder and have that downtime, have that freedom from thinking about all the shit that you need to do and from doing it. And Sunday is the day that I like to book in things like I said, the sound bath. And I guess now I'm a bit more equipped on knowing how that makes me feel. I just make sure I wasn't doing anything the rest of that day if I did it at a weekend again. And I like to book things like we did a yoga retreat, my friend Lisa and I, last weekend. So stuff that is complete disconnection, and I'm not going to be sat there thinking, oh, I've got to get back to work, I've got this call to do this afternoon, or I've got to do X, Y, or Z. It's just literally you've got the whole of that morning or afternoon blocked off for you, and you can mentally just completely have some downtime. And you need to have that on a Sunday, even if it's just for an hour or two. You need to be having something for you that allows you to go into that week feeling prepared and ready to do it. And like I say, this isn't always going to happen. Last year, there was 2 periods where I was down in Birmingham for, I think, 2 weeks the first time and then a month the second time. And my nan was in hospital. She was super poorly. Both times we came very, very close to losing her. And my routine, my healthy habits, my Sunday self-care and prep went completely out the window. And that wasn't something that I was focusing on. But you could argue that actually I needed it more than ever then. And I did. And I came back and my skin was breaking out. I was bloated. I felt horrendous. My head was just pounding from all of the kind of carbs and crappy food that I'd eat and hospital sandwiches, etc. It was just not a great time. So if you can just, I hate this phrase, but carve out that time. I don't know why it gives me the ick, but it does. For you, then a Sunday is a great time to do that. And then even if you don't get a chance the rest of the week, at least one day of the week, you've had some you time. And even if that means giving the kids to your partner for a couple of hours and saying, I need to go and lock myself in the bathroom and have a bath, just do that. Do whatever it is that you need to disconnect and just have some you time. So that is how I plan my week and what I utilise my Sundays for, and how I just make sure that I'm going into the week prepared and organised. Now, there are weeks where I'm doing stuff on a Sunday. As you're listening to this week, if you're listening on Sunday, I will be at my friend's engagement drinks, and that's an hour and a half away from us. So it's a good 3-hour trip and then a couple of 3 hours there. So we're not going to be doing all of this stuff today. It's going to be, we probably did the food shop yesterday, and it's going to be a case of when we could get back later that afternoon, I will do the work prep and I will put out my clothes and I will have a little bit of relaxation, but I'm not going to be doing the full shebang. So you can pick and choose from this what you want. You can make it work for you, but utilising Sunday in this way has completely 100% changed my week up. There's no doubt about it, because I used to just go from one week to the next. I used to take every single second that I could out of the weekend, and then I'd go into Monday. I'd be planning my week on a Monday morning. I wouldn't know what I was wearing, what I was doing, what gym plan I was following. I half the time wouldn't even make it to the gym. I wouldn't have a clue. Basically, Monday ended up being a day where I just kind of faffed my way through it and floated through it and just made the best of what I could and used it to prep. So that was a whole day then that I wasn't on my A game and wasn't making steps towards my goals. And like I say, some weeks might end up being like that for reasons out of your control. But for me, when I've got this stuff under control, that's the time that I feel the most connected. It's the time that I feel the most clear-minded. I make better decisions, and as a result of that, I have better success. The weeks where I do this stuff on a Sunday, I have way better success in achieving the things that I've set out, because I'm clear on what I want to do and I've put the time aside to do it. And things are going to come up. Things are going to be thrown at you left, right and centre. And also sometimes I know it's really difficult to do this if you've got a partner who isn't this way inclined, but my partner's not. He's not a big kind of goal setter in terms of writing stuff down. He certainly doesn't have a diary for the week. In fact, somebody asked him if he'd got a diary, he'd probably say it's me. But I will say to him on a Sunday, what have you got on this week? Are there any evenings or anything that I need to know about? So he might be away with work, for instance, and he plays badminton with his friends once a week. So what night are you doing that? What night do we need to maybe eat a bit earlier or a bit later? Because he does the cooking, so I can book my work calls around that. What are you doing at the weekend? Have you got any other plans around stuff that we're doing? We do normally spend weekends together, but sometimes, there will be things that come up. So yeah, it just pays to at least just sit them down and ask them this stuff. And then they don't have to be the one changing or doing anything that's out of their comfort zone or the way that they like to work, and it still gives you that clarity and that peace of mind going into the week that you're aware of their movements and their diary and their commitments. So I hope that has given you any pearls of wisdom, just some. Maybe if I've helped just one person, then I'm happy. And yeah, shout out, reach out if there's any questions that you've got or anything that I've said that you're not sure of, or anything that you want to come back with in terms of, if you've got tips or ways of doing things that you think are really good, let me know and I'll pop them on the Instagram and they might help other people. If you've got a really good routine or a really good way of planning or organising your week, or tips, tricks, life hacks, if you will, then please share them. I love this sort of stuff. This sort of stuff is, amazing. I always find myself getting really drawn into, those adverts where it's like 8 life hacks, and they'll tell you to put bowls in the microwave, one on top of a mug, so that you can fit 2 bowls in at the same time, or that we've been using hair grips wrong our whole life. Those little hacks to make life easier, I love them. So if you've got any of those, or any prep or planning or organisation techniques, then give me a little message. So as always, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to coming into your ears again next week. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at HelloSundayPod, or you can email us on hellosundaypod@outlook.com. Have a great week.